For a lot of Harvard undergraduate students, the best part of their Harvard experience is actually when they get the acceptance letter.
I got into Harvard! I got into Harvard! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And after they get that acceptance letter, everything kind of starts to go downhill from there.
I graduated from MIT with a 5.0 and I feel dumb as shit.
So many people don't know the realities of what it's really like to be a student here.
It was the psychological distress, it was the constant rejection that I was unprepared for, a lot of feelings of worthlessness.
Today, I want to talk about why this trend is happening and how you can actively work to avoid this once you commence your studies at Harvard or another top Ivy League. I've been a fan of Ivy League vlog channels for years now. It's something that actually gave me a lot of motivation when I was working to get into Harvard myself. I mean, the most viewed videos on my YouTube channel are literally me just compiling together a bunch of acceptance reactions from these Ivy League YouTubers. But there's been a trend I've observed with these students that has kind of troubled me, which is these students start their YouTube channel with their Ivy League acceptance reaction video, then they do vlogs about their move-in day and their first day of classes, and by the end of their first or second year, they inevitably post some form of a video talking about how difficult their life has been at the school and how horrible their mental health and self-worth has been as a result of it.
Basically, going to MIT has stripped away almost any semblance of confidence in my academic and my professional abilities that I could possibly have.
To go to Harvard and for the first time in their life, seeing that little minus sign next to A, or perhaps seeing B's and C's. When they try to work harder, they still get the B's and C's.
Before I got into Harvard, I used to find this really hard to understand because I would think, how could you possibly be unhappy? You're at Harvard, for crying out loud. But now that I'm at Harvard and a student myself, I do have a better understanding of where they're coming from. I want to preface this by saying that I've had an incredible experience at Harvard, but I have thoughts on why we see these top students struggle at Ivy League universities. In 2019, Malcolm Gladwell spoke to executives at Google and talked about why it's not always the best decision to go to Harvard even if you get accepted, and it's because of the concept called relative deprivation theory. Relative deprivation theory states that as human beings, we don't form our self-assessments based on our relative standing in the world. Rather, we form our self-assessments based on our immediate circle. In other words, in life, relative position matters a lot more than absolute position. What this means is that when these top students are in high school, they are thriving because they're in an environment where they're excelling both academically and with their extracurricular endeavors. However, when they transition into a place like Harvard, they go from being in an environment where they're exceptional at high school to being in a place where every single student is a genius and possesses some sort of exceptional talent in music, sport, entrepreneurship, non-profit work, you name it. In other words, they go from being a big fish in a small pond to being a small fish in an ocean. In certain cases, this is a great thing because some students love the fact that they can be in an environment where everyone is more accomplished than them because it makes them more motivated to rise to these new standards. But for a lot of Harvard freshman students, it crushes them because their whole self-worth and identity was based around the fact that they're intelligent, hardworking, and talented.
You know, in the classroom, I feel like the dumbest person in the room sometimes. So a lot of the times I question why, why I'm even here.
After 1 or 2 years of being at a school like Harvard and consistently scoring in the bottom half of your cohort and always being outdone by your peers, it starts to take a heavy toll on your self-confidence, motivation, and self-efficacy.
The kid in the bottom third of his class at Harvard does not say, rationally, I am in the 99.99th percentile of all students in the world when it comes to native math ability, even though that's true. What that kid says is, that kid over there, Johnny over there, is getting all the answers right and I'm not. I feel like I'm really stupid.
This is a problem because when it comes to chasing your dreams, the most important qualities aren't things like talent or intelligence. It's actually self-confidence, motivation, and self-efficacy, all of which are determined by your relative position rather than your absolute position. So what a lot of these Harvard and Ivy League students are being robbed of is the sense of self-belief and confidence that they actually need to go out and change the world, like they said on their personal statements. And that's why Malcolm Gladwell argues that you shouldn't go to an Ivy League, but instead go to a school where you're going to excel. Because when you go to a normal college, your cohort will be less motivated, you will thrive academically, and you'll get into every single student club that you apply to, and it's going to give you the mindset that you're capable of doing anything, which at the end of the day is really what matters when it comes down to chasing your dreams.
The 80th percentile student at Harvard looks at those kids who are smarter than him and says, I can't do it. The number one student at Missouri says, wow, I am Lord of the Manor. I'm gonna go out and conquer the world.
Now, I want to state that whilst there's merit in Malcolm Gladwell's argument, I personally believe that with the right strategies and mindset for managing your self-worth and mental health, you can go to a school like Harvard, gain all the benefits of the rigorous curriculum, the connections, the professors, the job prospects, and still have the confidence to go out and chase your biggest dreams afterwards. So with that in mind, let's jump into some strategies that I've learned in my 6 months at Harvard about how to maintain your self-confidence and self-worth in an environment as competitive as Harvard. Number 1, always come from a place of gratitude and remember the privilege of going to a school like this. Harvard is a bubble, and it's easy to forget just how few people get to go to a school like this. For me, I always think back to my younger self and how much I dreamed of getting into Harvard, and it's that very reminder that helps to center me every single day and remind me of how lucky I am to be here. Number 2, understand that your fellow Harvard students aren't your competition. Everyone acts like the world is a zero-sum game, like for one person to win, another person must lose. But when you're a student at Harvard, there's plenty of jobs to go around, plenty of companies to start, plenty of money to be made, and endless amounts of impact to be had. Just because one of your Harvard friends is succeeding, it doesn't mean that you're losing. When you can shift your mindset to start celebrating the successes of others, you escape that prison of comparison. Number 3, don't pursue academic perfection. As a teaching fellow at Harvard, it blows me away how attached Harvard students are to their grades. At the end of the day, unless you want to go do a PhD, most companies and institutions really couldn't care less what grades you got. My advice is to take some of the time that you're spending studying and put it towards playing a sport, exploring new hobbies, or building out your personality, things that are so much more critical to succeeding in life. Number 4 is to remember that it's not about the next 10 weeks, it's about the next 10 years. Your time at Harvard or any Ivy League is but a blip in time, and you can't expect to be changing the world by the time you finish your degree. Be patient. Understand that success takes time to compound, and it's not about graduating as a success, but rather graduating and being on a trajectory towards success. Number 5 is to remember that if you do get into your dream school, the next 4 years will be an uphill battle. It's called a dream school because it's a school that's above your current ability. So if you go there, expect others to be smarter, brighter, and more talented than you are. It's just the reality of the world. And number 6, it's okay to be imperfect in a perfect school. One thing I've realized is that Harvard students are really good at masking their emotions. And if you feel stressed or are struggling, just know that it's okay. Just because others aren't speaking up, know that they are going through the same emotions and the same struggles that you are. We're all human at the end of the day, and it's okay to speak up if you are struggling. And if you do, odds are you're gonna give others the courage to also speak up. All right, that's gonna do it for this video. I'm super excited to be making these videos that kind of give a more transparent overview of what it's like to attend an Ivy League and giving away the strategies that you can use to kind of combat these problems. There are so many other videos like this that I'm gonna be making in the weeks ahead. And as always, if you want access to all my college resources for free, check out my Google Drive at the top of the description. And if you want one-on-one support, be sure to check out my Google form and fill it out because I'm selecting one new student every single week to give free support to help them reach their college dreams. Good luck.